Tumble Track is having a sale. Tumble Track is having their home holiday sale. It's on now. Bars, mats, beams, a whole air floor, or those little hot spots that you can put, like a little air floor that you can just jump around on or like run and jump off of in your living room, which is what I did my entire childhood on one of those jogging trampolines. But now you can get professional equipment for your own home. So visit Tumble Track at TUMBLTRAK, tumbletrack.com. Train smart. Simone Biles Rising, the documentary series on Netflix, is complete. We will discuss the final 2 episodes. Plus, we have some gymnastics horror stories for Halloween and awesome FIG news. For once, it's October 28th, 2024, and welcome to the #1 gymnastics podcast in the galaxy. I'm Jessica. I'm here with Spencer from the Balance Beam Situation. Behind the scenes this week is Wednesday, the Wednesday before Halloween at noon Pacific with Simone Biles Rising director Katie Walsh. Get your questions ready for her. And we have our live show. Our 4th and final live show of the year will be Portlanders. You are getting Oregonians. You are getting your wish. We are coming to Portland. It'll be probably the 2nd weekend of December. Portland people, email us, GymCastic@gmail.com, because we'll need a few volunteers. So, all right, headlines. Paralympics is finally being recognized by the FIG. They voted to bring it into the fold.
Finally.
Long overdue. We're so excited about this. Other countries have it as part of their like special competitions. We love this. And Paralympics should be in the Olympics. It needs to be.
Paralympics should be in the Olympics.
Para-gymnastics should be in the Olympics. So, do you know who presented this topic?
Oh, I do not.
Nellie Kim.
Oh, Nellie Kim presented this and then got immediately voted out of the FIG.
And then she got immediately voted in to the, what is it? She's an honorary vice president now for the years of service.
The legends category.
And if you don't know Nellie Kim is, we have a whole episode on her. I will link to it because you have to.
I feel like we're going to talk about her in a soon.
We will. Simone Biles Rising on Netflix, the documentary series, 4 parts. We finally got the final 2 parts. The whole picture is complete. We got the Olympic trials and then competition in Paris portions of the
team final and all around. Event finals didn't exist.
Event finals never happened. Nobody knows about those. No. If only we had, I mean, my dream, and I'll have a question for you, is the 10-hour documentary series that has all the things we want to see in it. But we got many, many iconic moments. What was the most iconic moment for you?
Oh, there were some solid ones in part 2. I mean, Nadia really brought it. We have to talk about that because, first of all, she was wearing that Romanian jacket with the blood splatter on it, which it's like the Romanian colors, except the red is just a splat. And it's like, okay, so that's blood. There's no other way to interpret that. That's just you're wearing a blood jacket. So that was great. We got Nadia saying, no one remembers the second person to walk on the moon when talking about being the first person to get a perfect 10. So basically she just put Nellie Kim in a shipping container and sent her to nowhere. And then the FIG was like, you're not a vice president anymore. It's been a great week for Nellie. That was solid. We got Simone saying when Jonathan was throwing out the first pitch, I hope he throws it in the dirt. That was really important to me. I identified with that tremendously. So yeah, we got some good ones in part 2.
For me, finally, Ron Biles made it. The Ron Biles erasure through, like, you would think that Simone only had a father or only had a mother and there was no one else in her entire family. So that Ron Biles finally was interviewed, shown, like, sitting in the stands too. And then he said, win or lose, we still love you. Like, with some tears in his eyes.
He had to get in the emotional part because Nellie Biles, not Nellie Kim, had been dominating the emotional Simone motherhood storyline. He had to get in, win or lose, we still love you to get in the documentary.
I just love that because, you see like how much like they love and care and like, when she's like, yeah, my mom, they get in the car to the meet and she's already crying like this, like, oh, I just want you to be happy.
I think we see throughout the documentary how much not having them in Tokyo affected her.
Yes.
by how important it was to have her group there for her in Paris. You see, by contrast, how much that would have hurt her in Tokyo.
Yep. And I think, the Bileses, I've talked about this before, but the Bileses roll deep. Like it's like a 30-person entourage that Simone has. And it's been like this since she was a little kid, like since her very first nationals, or like there's so many of them. So it's just like, you can see how many people there are to support her and how used to that she is. And I'm really glad that she got a different experience this time around. Because also like Rio was so gnarly and the security was so gnarly that they also didn't have like, I think, the same experience they had in Paris. But the other thing that was iconic, out there on the streets, I'm young. You can't touch me.
When talking about how she's old for gymnastics.
Yes, but out
there
on
was
the
a clarification question, like, so you keep talking about how you're old, even though you're 27, and she's like, no, I mean, out on the streets, I'm young.
Which I can see the.
That's a good T-shirt. Out on the streets, I'm young. Simone Biles. I mean, get on it.
It's interesting to say, like, there's so much emphasis on age and how this has changed the gymnastics story, and I can also see from her perspective, like, yeah, I'm not actually old in gymnastics. There's other people even that I'm competing with who regularly make finals with me or older than me or around my same age. But like in her gym, it's all teenagers except Jordan, who's 22, 23. But yeah, there's only like one other person close to her age. So I also iconic, I'm going to have way too many iconic moments.
Yeah.
Ollie Hogben and Lori Hernandez, every word out of their mouths. Iconic, amazing. I also love that since Lori's in acting school now, theater school, I shouldn't call acting school. Then now she says you can see it in their work. Like their gymnastics is their work.
It is their work.
Yes, I love that. I hope bring more.
Keep talking like an actress.
Bring more theater words to gymnastics. That's all I'm asking. I also just love this because there's nothing like this except the All Around that had like the footage, the All Around series from the Olympic Channel that had like the footage and access to the footage in the Olympic sphere. Peacock got close to this, but like having it being on the floor at the Olympics, like there hasn't been something like that before. And also that like she touched on
you get the things they wouldn't say.
Yes.
If you had your choice, when you have a documentary following you, they're going to put the most interesting things in here. If you had your choice, maybe you'd be like, I don't want that in there, but that's the documentary.
Mm-hmm. Like touching on the difficult stuff. Like they brought up all the hate that her husband got after he went on a podcast and talked about how, the real trick is how she pulled me, how, we have an episode where we talked about this in depth, but basically it was interpreted. He's like men are the catch, which he's always thought. But then he went on to explain how he had his whole life planned out to not be in a relationship. But then, as he says in the podcast interview, the real story is how she pulled me because he never planned to fall in love. He never planned to be serious. And he met her and like all his plans were out the window. He fell madly in love and is married 2 years later. So they talked about that, which I would not read mean tweets about myself. The stuff that she reads in this, I'm like,
I know. I'm like, Simone, delete.
Don't. And like,
delete the app.
How do you choose when you're like, so Simone, we want to do this part with this idea for like you read some bullshit people say about you. What's the right time in the lead up to the Olympics for you to read these? Like, what's the right time to have a definite like down where you feel like shit for a while? When would you like to read these? But to her credit, she did say she deleted Twitter in this. Now,
Simone is always deleting and then undeleting Twitter.
That's the thing. But you could tell when she's deleted Twitter because then her threads are on fire, and then maybe she'll like put one thing on Twitter. So I appreciated that. Also, I felt like this
appreciate your own performance.
Oh, I did
in the documentary.
Thank you. I thought I did.
Was that one of your highlights?
Thank you for saying that, Spencer. I thought it was pretty good. Yeah, did an all right job. I think it was extremely honest
You can
for an
listen to BTS, our behind the scenes episode, for Jessica's thoughts on her hair, for detailed thoughts on her hair in the documentary. But that's for
very
behind the scenes.
disappointed. That's
That's
behind
for
the
behind the
scenes.
scenes listeners.
I felt like this was really honest for an athlete who's still in the system and not retired to, obviously there's always more that we want to know, but when you're still actively have to work with USA Gymnastics, yeah. But went to the Q&A at the premiere last week, as Spencer mentioned, and one of the things that I'm hopeful is maybe we'll get something like that. In the era where Simone gives no fucks, doesn't have to, is a billionaire with her own island, and then tells all the stories. So in the Q&A afterwards, she was asked about legacy, and Simone said, usually you're using the word legacy, it means you're done. So I don't have an answer for you. Dun, dun, dun.
Which is a contrast, because the documentary kind of ends with her talking about gymnastics in the past tense. Like gymnastics was, gymnastics has been. For her, it sounds retiree.
Mm-hmm.
But, time passes.
And in the tour, there's that gymnastics, you've been good to me, like showing everyone as little kids. And now it's like, well, is this the end? Like, thank you and goodbye. That's one of the acts. Is that a message? Thank you and goodbye. I don't know. But there was that late night show she went on also where she said, like, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have an answer, but maybe if I can like tag in and out of some events, like a specialist role. Like,
yeah.
I mean, Andrade is doing the same thing. She said that was probably her last floor routine ever. So maybe.
We cannot recognize. I don't recognize that. I don't recognize that comment. I don't accept it. I don't view it as real.
I mean, she could just switch to doing all the dance and not all the hardest tumbling in the world and just be
but when she was talking about it, she was like, I'll just start with something easy, like the triple double. Like, that's the easy part for her. That's the part she's most comfortable with. She's like, I'll just do a triple double, and then I have to like focus on my leaps or whatever.
We're talking about Simone now, not Andrade's floor, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. I thought you were talking about Simone.
No, I was talking about Andrade said she might never do. Yeah. That was probably her last floor routine ever. We will also not recognize that Simone, if Simone ever says it's her last floor routine ever, we will never say never. You never know.
Yeah, I mean she kind of said that was her last Yurchenko double pike ever, and we're not recognizing that. So
right. I mean, she did have a funeral for it though, and I feel like that's a little more definitive. That like goodbye. I want to talk about some
do the double tuck.
Moments of honesty that we got in this episode. One of the first ones for me was the eating. Many scenes of eating.
They physically showed food. That's progress for a gymnastics documentary, which it is.
It wasn't the fake marshmallow roasting moment that they showed, like, picking out pastries, like living her life, drinking what she wants, doing like that. No like diet salmon bullshit nonsense.
Jessica has a vendetta against the salmon.
Freaking diet salmon. It's the worst. Almost as bad as trash broccoli. Also,
that's cauliflower, by the way, to translate.
In case you guys don't know, because cauliflower is a joke, honestly. It's white. What are you getting out of it? It's not even green or purple or orange or red. Oh, God. Anyway, the being mean, showing herself stressed.
Yeah. The scene in the hotel with Jonathan where he's trying to talk to her and she's like, please, you have to stop talking to me. I don't want to hear about my braid. My braid is fine. It is the same as it was the day before, and you have to stop immediately.
Stop trying to say that I look fine. I would like to complain about my flyaways right now, and flyaways hair, not gymnastics.
Yeah, I did get confused for a second when she talked about her flyaways. I was like, Simone, you're not competing in flyaway. Why are you worried about that?
Do that.
Yeah.
That honest portrayal of what it's like. I mean, other people later will come out and be like, I became an alcoholic. I got a DUI. I, felt, I self-harm, like all this stuff after the fact. But the fact that she showed herself in the moment was okay with the world seeing that. being like, I'm super stressed and this is how it comes out, which this is normal for people to take it
What
out on
is
the
the
people that are
relevance
safest.
of the DUI and
The
what you're talking about?
like
I feel like you made a leap here and I don't understand.
I feel like people don't show themselves at their worst until ever. They might talk about it in the past tense.
This is not at your worst.
It's
This is
not
just
at their
being
worst.
kind of cranky.
It's not at their
And
worst, but like,
stressed.
what other
Normal. Acting
documentary?
normal.
What other documentary have you seen where someone shows themselves being really cranky and pissed?
That's
Like this?
common for
Like who?
documentaries.
Like
I
what?
don't
Who?
know, but like, the examples. I don't have an example for you.
People will
but
send them in. I can't think of one. People will talk about what they're annoyed with, like showing themselves taking out on
yeah,
a
it's
loved
less
one.
common for a like documentary that's a profile piece like this kind of,
Right.
not like this is not an investigative documentary. This is not like exposing the truth of Simone Biles. This is like, isn't Simone great? The documentary, which is what it intends to be. And it's great and it's fine and it's entertaining. But it's not like we're going to get to the bottom of this murder or something. So, yes, it is less usual for that. That's like, like intended to be a very positive portrayal that she's, also like, shut up. My mom says I'm mean on meat days, and this is what you're getting.
This is what I mean. I want to talk more about the honest moments and lots more stuff about the documentary. But first, I want to remind you guys behind the scenes this week, which is a special Q&A that we do live for our Club Gym Nerd members, and we go into in depth and lots of stuff. Like this last week, it was all about going to the premiere and who was there and who I talked to and what the drinks were like and all like everything that happened at the premiere. And we answer your questions live, or you can send them in. That is going to be Wednesday before Halloween at noon Pacific this week. That is what's happening. And also live show first or second weekend of December in Portland, Oregon. Portland people, email us. Also, if you're watching us on YouTube, 70% of our YouTube watchers are not subscribers. The horror. Please hit the button. Subscribe. Tell all your friends. Also, this show is brought to you by Club Gym Nerd, who get an extra podcast every single week. And you get one-on-one time with us answering your questions, basically, is what you get. Who else allows you to do that? With us
mispronouncing your names. Yeah.
That's what happens. When I called Liza, Lisa, I pronounced it with an accent like it was.
There are a lot of accents. Yeah. There's some good accent work. Jessica's at Laurie Hernandez Theater School for accents. It's going great.
We have you also get discounts on merch. You get your own VIP area in the forum. You get early access and discounts on live show tickets, stuff like that. You can get a mini segment. We have 2 or 3 now coming up where you get to make Spencer talk about anything you want for 10 to 15 minutes. It has to be tangentially gymnastics related, but we like a challenge. So, and you can also just make us scream about something you love or hate with a rage meter or an enthusiasm meter. So check it out at GymCastic.com, join the club tab. And if you need any help with your membership, customer service at GymCastic.com. All right, back to honest moments. After being mean.
Not even really mean.
No, it's
just
not.
Kind of annoyed.
It's the normal cranky stress. I have to get out the door. I'm trying to accomplish things. Yeah.
I'm trying to focus. I'm nervous about the meet. I'm trying to think about that. And you're also talking. And that's not helping because it makes me have to reorganize my brain.
And I'm saying being mean because I related to this scene so much. And so did my beloved husband, who was like looking at me the whole time like, oh, does this look familiar? And I was like, I'm so sorry. Okay. So if you were a novice watcher, if you're a non-gym nerd, was it clear that the young era of gymnastics was bad? Was that emphasized enough? And by I mean that, did I make
you
enough
talked about it? You sure talked. You had the ages and everything. Yes.
Thanks, Spencer, for the facts, which I had open on my phone.
I think so.
And so.
Like, not just like this was a bad era. It's just unhealthy. There were great things that happened.
Oh yeah,
but just like the general unhealthiness of athletes being so young. When you have you talking about it and when you have Mochianu talking about it, I think that makes it clear.
And I think also like
Mochianu's not going to hold back about that.
No. I love that they put her line in there when she said, yeah, because younger athletes are easier to control. Not only did she say that, but there is a horrifically abusive coach who is still for some reason not in jail, Doug Boger. He literally said in an interview for TV, why do you train the athletes so young? Because they're easier to control. It's an actual quote. I will link to that. And I just want to add, Doug Boger is on the USAG ban list, and I will link to some stories about him. And so I love that she got that in there because it's not just her feeling that way. I mean, this is actually why people do
she also lived that.
She also lived it and experienced it firsthand. Yeah. Also, okay, some other things. 90% of practice shown she's sitting.
Simone is sitting.
Simone is sitting.
Well, that's when you get your good. That's also when you get your good quotes. You get your good talking. But yeah, I mean, you gotta train smart. They always talk about training smarter as you get older, and like some of that means sitting.
And this is what it used to be. So at camp in the curly days, no one's allowed to sit. No gymnasts are allowed to sit. No coaches are allowed to sit. And if you sat, you got yelled at. Now at camp, Simone sitting. At competition, Simone sitting. Why? Because she is preserving her body. She has to make it through the whole practice. You need to recover, relax, sit, have a rest. Before she starts her routines now, she used to stand up. Now since 2019, she sits before all routines, except bars. Sits down, has a relax, then gets up at the last second and salutes. So I love that they showed that. Since Simone came back the year before the Olympics, basically, all the media has been asking her, what are your goals? And she's been saying...
a dynamic and useful question.
You never know what you're going to get, though. Someone could be like, I just want to go to Worlds with my best friend because we have a practical joke we want to play, and that's it. Sometimes people, you don't know. So anyway, she would not. She was like, yeah, I have goals. I'm not telling you. I'm keeping it private. But Katie knew, the director, Katie Walsh, she knew the whole time because she's the only one that Simone would tell. So we finally found out what her real goals were, and they were, as we all knew, win this bitch. That was her goal. That's not a direct quote. Obviously, it's Simone.
Yeah, she's not coming back for third.
No.
But it was interesting that event finals were not really among her goals, which kind of then orchestrates the storyline of the last episode, or the last two episodes, where we're focusing on team finals and we're focusing on the all around, which were her goals, her gold goals. And then she was like, and then, event finals, we'll see what happens, which was kind of like an afterthought, which is a very US gymnastics perspective. Team and all around, and then event finals are
Yeah, they're like, oh, there's this extra meat after we're done that we have to do. It's interesting that you brought up the gold, her part of it, because she does say in this, it's like people don't even know they have medals of other colors. They give out other medals at the Olympics, and I was like, oh, that's right.
Yeah, well, welcome to US Olympic coverage.
Yeah, because all they talk about that, of silver is losing. And you could see, she talked about that in the last documentary, Simone versus Herself, too, which was so incredibly accurately named, considering what happened in Tokyo. And yeah, it's still winning a medal. Even if it's not gold, it's winning a medal. I thought it was very interesting that she talked about the Olympics not being a safe space.
What did she say specifically?
She talked about how she, the village, also she was really happy to be in the village and happy to be around other people, and it not being like Tokyo, because that was so hard. Because there's no one there, no fans, no nothing. You couldn't talk to each other. How, they didn't stay in the village in Tokyo. And she said it freaks her out when people surround her. And And that I can't even imagine, like you're supposed to be at a place where everybody understands that you're an athlete, you're under pressure, everyone's under this like level of pressure, and then you can't even go get food because people won't leave you alone. And they show, another coach, I assume, or some official in walking into the village who's asking her to like, oh, say hi to Korea, and she says hi, but you
I think
can't.
that was media.
But I think they were in the village area where media can't go, where they filmed that part. So, but also that's the thing. It's like, why are you filming when you're not, you know what I mean? She doesn't have peace from the other people that should understand where and when you need peace.
It was also funny that the commentary about that, of like having to meet all of these people in the video, showed her hugging Janelle McDonald. It's like, that's not a stranger. That's like someone she knows.
She's known for a very, very long time. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting because this is one of the things that always, I talk about this so much, but it bothers me when, especially like the volunteers at meets, which I understand this is one of the bonus of being a volunteer at meets and competitions, is you get to see everybody. But when they bother athletes, and some people are fine with it, but like this is their safe space where they're supposed to be protected from people wanting things from them. And then when, volunteers or even other media, this has happened, like ask people for like a signature or an autograph or a photo and stuff like that. And I'm like, ugh, leave them alone. They're working. Okay, the most shocking honesty part. When they tried on their outfits.
Oh, those hideous Ralph Lauren opening ceremony outfits. And Simone was like, this is not good. Simone and Jordan were like, how do we say that this is ugly?
How do we say no? Preppy outfits from the 80s. No. But I love that she was like, I feel like I should be riding a horse, because that is the whole polo thing. It's literally their brand is someone riding a horse, playing the game of polo. They like those NASCAR hideously ugly NASCAR closing ceremony
jackets.
Those
were bad too. I feel like maybe it was a pity like.
She said fire though. Oh, do people still say fire ironically, or is that used?
No, she was saying that for. The Ralph Lauren people were there,
but like, she said she didn't. She didn't like she was making fun of the first outfit, and they were there.
But trying to maybe they liked those ugly NASCAR jackets, but also maybe they were just being nice.
I do not think there is ever a moment where Simone has said she likes something when she actually does it in that way. Like, Simone is usually, how she feels about something. Is she just so charming that you can't be upset if she's just mad about something or doesn't like something?
I feel like those Ralph Lauren reps have heard it before, because those opening ceremony outfits are objectively hideous.
They are objectively hideous. Also, they're not the ones who designed them. They're just the ones.
They're just like, all right, I have to make this look good in a picture. All right, fine.
I have to make this fit you, and yeah. Okay, the most horrifying part of the honesty. That she leaves the house at 5:40 a.m.
I thought that was that's for a special something was happening.
No, 2 days. I think they start at 6 a.m. is their first practice of the day.
Oh, I thought when she left at 5:40 and went to the gym and it was like a birthday thing, I thought they were like then going to the ranch, or not the ranch, God, going to camp or something after that.
No, that's like first practice of the day, 6 a.m.
Simone. Okay, well, first of all, if you come back, you have to set some ground rules about wake up times.
You don't have to do this anymore.
We're not doing that. You're going to be an event specialist, and you can wake up when you want.
Yep. And you can go at 10 a.m. for an hour, and then go home for a couple hours, and then come back for another 2 hours. 2-hour practices. You can get it done. Oh my God. So then this means, athletes are supposed to have 8 to 10 hours of sleep, which 10 hours of sleep by my calculation is the appropriate number of hours. But so to get up, and I know some people don't eat breakfast because they makes them feel sick to eat breakfast, but athletes are supposed to have breakfast to fuel before they go work out. So what time do you have to get up to eat and then not feel pukey so you can work out? Is that is she getting up at 4:30, 5 a.m.? Oh, the horror. It's not worth it. None of this is worth it if you have to leave the house at 5:40 a.m.
That's why Simone was like talking about gymnastics in the past tense. She has to wake up at 5:40.
But now I understand why she can't stay awake past 10 p.m. because she's been getting up for 6 a.m. practices for her whole life at 5 in the morning. So would she go to bed, do you think, at like 8 or 9 o'clock at night?
I couldn't possibly say.
Is that mathing? I know this is not shocking for anyone. This is what athletes do. The 2 days they go to bed. Really, it's a monastic. It's a monastic. Thank you very much. A monastic lifestyle. You don't get to do fun stuff. You have to go to bed early and get up early, and then you're too tired to do anything. Like she says, she has to take a nap every day. No wonder, because she's getting up so early. Anyway, I know it's not shocking, but I'm just like, damn, Simone, make your own schedule. Okay. The honesty about the 3 season-ending injuries that happened at Olympic trials. I really like they included that.
Yeah.
Speaking of this part, I was thinking about how so we're talking about the injuries to DiCello, Sky Blakely, and the only non-Simone on the podium for the last 2 world championships, Charlize Jones. In the past, we would have blamed Marta for all these injuries. Like 2003 Worlds, when there was the same thing, 3 people had season-ending injuries and couldn't compete, and they had to bring in the very last alternate. We would have blamed Marta.
Yeah.
Where do we stand on this now?
You don't have a Marta to blame, because I don't think Chelsea, Alicia, Dan have that much control over what the athletes are doing. It's much more the individual coaches. And so I don't think you have a cohesive thing to blame other than pushing through because it's the Olympics. Like I guess the size, the significance of the Olympics is what you blame, because I think you have people who really shouldn't be competing, pushing through because it's the Olympics.
I also think it's like, I feel like the athletes made their decisions. And I mean, like, and it's not like all of these injuries where you could see them coming. I mean, that's the only thing. I mean, I think the cello is the only one that was like, actually
beforehand.
Had like an ongoing Achilles thing. And all week she was, but I really feel like it was her decision to compete. I don't feel like anybody it was really, I feel like they really did have the agency to decide if they were going to compete or not. And Sky's was like a freak thing. Yeah, I don't know. So the same thing happened, but we didn't feel like there was someone to blame. And I do feel like there wasn't someone to blame because I feel like the athletes had more agency this time around.
It was also different timing because they weren't in training for the team with the head coach then, organizing training. This happened beforehand. So it's, it's more individual.
Yeah. Another moment of honesty we got that I really liked is that you notice Simone always uses we, like the royal we.
Yeah.
But I feel like she actually says that because she's talking about her coaches, her support system, her trainers, her doctors, her therapists, like her teammates. Like when she's like, yeah, we need to really concentrate on doing the right things and making sure that we are rehabbing well and doing the right recovery. We. And I'm just like, and then she talked about that at the premiere and said, this isn't just me. This isn't my success. It's like a whole team of people that helped me get here and have through all these years. And I really like that she said that.
Mm-hmm. It's also helpful to think that way often.
Yeah.
That it's not like, if it's I, that's a lot more pressure than if it's we, because you have your team, even though it's not really a team sport.
Yeah. Oh, this is also a good time for a shameless plug. They brought up Bannon's, her very first gym, and how she was supposed to go to an oil field because it's Texas, and this would also be California. There's oil wells everywhere in Southern California. But they were supposed to go there, but then it rained, so they went to Bannon's instead, and that is where she met Amy Borman and Luis, but this is there's now a book coming out, shameless plug, by her first coach through her first world championships and through her first 5 gold medal win at Rio. And you can read all about the journey and what happened behind the scenes, and all the things you want to know about are in there. You can pre-order it now. So, therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, also the book is called The Balance, My Years Coaching Simone Biles by Amy Borman. I should probably mention
By the way.
because now that we do video, I forget.
There's a book.
Yeah. There's a book. Yeah. I'm not going to tell you what it's called or who it's by. Can you imagine what the reaction would have been unless you say my sports psychologist or psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever, in the olden days, what the reaction would be? Like, you had to put sport in front of therapy to make it palatable and to make it non-shameful. And now it's like kind of one of the things that you should have.
Your team should have a sports psychologist. Yeah.
In the Q&A, so at the premiere, we watched episode 4, the final episode, and then there was a Q&A with Katie Walsh, the director, and Simone on stage. And Simone talked about therapy and talked about the stigma around it, and why she decided to or not to talk about it to the media. So she said,
this was more of a strength thing for me to go in, do my visualizations, just talk to her, whatever I needed. And so it wasn't at a point of weakness, it was a point of strength. So I think that was hard because media tried to spin it as like, oh, Simone was in therapy. But then once I did so well, they were like, oh, Simone went to therapy.
Someone was in therapy. And I'm just like, God damn, who says this? Who in the media was saying this? And who?
Someone went to therapy as a good thing? You.
I mean, I'm saying that, but I never said it in the bad way.
Right.
Yeah. She also talked about the progress of her therapy over time.
But then after a couple months, I stopped going because, you feel better, so you stop going. But I also feel like I saw it as a gymnastics injury, because in gym, if you were to get injured, you go to the doctor. They would say 3 to 6 weeks or 3 to 6 months, or you get surgery. So I paired that with therapy, and I'm like, I've been going for like a year. How am I not better? How am I not okay? But everybody's journey is unique and different. And I truly believe I'll be going to therapy for the rest of my life, and that's okay. It doesn't mean I'm broken, not okay, but it just shows the strength that I need help, and that's okay.
Yeah, I love that she said that. And then she looked at the audience and she was like, yeah, you deserve happiness. Like, you deserve peace, happiness. Like, it's okay. Because remember a long time ago how she talked about there was someone on the men's team who made fun of anyone that went to therapy and was like, oh, if you go to therapy, you're weak. I don't need that. And that was the stigma that she had heard from other people who were, national team members. And it's like, yeah, now she's like completely, I mean, like, if anyone tells that to you, not directly.
It makes so much sense to think about, like, okay, you get, you hurt your ankle, you go to the doctor for 3 to 6 weeks. So then, you go to the therapy doctor for 3 to 6 weeks to resolve it. Like, it makes total sense. That comparison.
Yep. We also got so much information about her injuries, not just the calf injury, but I mean, she didn't go into everything, like her smashed toe that she's had for a million years. It's like her big toe's like broken into 17 parts. But the injuries she had very close and during Paris. So we found out about the knee injury and the pain. I didn't know anything about her knee injury. Had you? Heard anything?
No.
And it's funny
because we saw that big needle that made a huge impression on you.
Oh, the needle. It's just so, because I've had that before, the giant needle going into your knee, and it is just so painful and awful. Anyway, I don't mind needles at all, but when it goes into your joint, no, I had to be put to sleep for my hip one. I put to sleep like a dog. No, they knocked me out for that. I was like, absolutely not. You will not be sticking that in my hip. And like, if Simone says something hurts, it really, really, really hurts, because you guys, her toe has been smashed into pieces for years. Like, and she has done gymnastics on it, no problem. Like, if she says she's in pain, it's not a normal person. Like if I stub my toe, that's it. I can't compete. She's really, really, really in pain. So I was like, oh God, that must have been really, really bad. I also really like when we get to Paris and she talks about what happened on the floor, because I could see that something was going on, but we didn't get any of the audio. But here we get the actual audio when she goes up to Cecile and is like, oh, this is bad. I felt something like tear in my calf. And Cecile, this is the best thing about this moment. Cecile has no reaction, totally calm, face does not change, stays completely, radiates calm. Okay.
Scream, the Olympics is over.
She wasn't like, oh shit, are you going to be able to compete? Oh God, it's all happening again.
This is my Olympics. I'm going to get a big Olympics tattoo.
I already bought my Corvette and put the bumper sticker on it. I won the Olympics. No. We are making reference to a coach who is no longer with us. So I really appreciated showing that, like, this is really the difference of experience and coaches knowing what to do, which is just like, no reaction. If you radiate calm, they will be calm.
Yeah.
I also like that we got Simone, her real audio on the floor, which is, quote, right where I had that fucking tear, when she's talking to the trainer.
Yeah. Because she thought it was, I think, in the moment, thought it was more serious than it ended up being. Which is not that it wasn't a painful injury, but she, thought it was, like, done. Like Achilles, done, when it first happened.
Yeah, she specifically says to Laurent, quote, I thought I tore my Achilles. And I do want to clarify something, because just in case it's not clear, I think they explained this very well, but a strain, which is what a pulled muscle is called, is a grade of tear. So a grade 1 strain is like little microscopic tears throughout the muscle fiber, or in one part of the muscle fiber. A grade 2 tear is like, it's like halfway torn. And then a grade 3 strain is a full rupture where no parts of the muscle are touching anymore. That is, so when they say like a strain and a tear, they're just grades of tearing. Also, we found out that the calf injury happened at championships. That means there were only 3 weeks between championships and trials.
The previous calf injury before
the one in Paris.
The one, yeah.
Yeah, the one where she was like, right where I had that fucking tear, that one.
Yeah, right there.
That's what she was talking about. Which is like, so how, I wonder if she was like, I would be freaking out going into trials with a major, her whole thing is flying into the air. Like, women's gymnastics is jumps. It is a bunch of jumps. Bars is the only one where you're not jumping. The whole sport is jumping up and down. Men get to just be on their arms. They only have 2 leg events. But yeah, that would be, I wonder how it was for her at trials and how much pain she was in. If, she is Simone and she's a total physical freak. So she was like, yeah, 2 weeks I was fine. But yeah, that's, it's really interesting to know that was going on behind the scenes. And I do wonder, it made me wonder, was Simone closer to being one of the group of 3 who had a season-ending injury than we know?
Probably. Everyone's always in more pain than they're letting on, just as a rule. So, yeah, probably she was. And I think that's why she was, like, really freaked and immediately went to, I tore my Achilles.
Mm-hmm. Because honestly, like, if you are going into trials with a calf injury, which is your, Achilles is the ligament that tendon that attaches your calf muscles to your foot so you can move it. If you've already seen 2 people tear their Achilles at the meet that you're going into with a calf injury, that would be the first thing I was thinking of. That would be the first thing I was freaking out about.
That's why you never made an Olympic team.
Oh my God. They left me at home because I was like, ow, when you do a round off on beam, it hurts. I don't want to do anymore. Someone else, no, ouchie. The other thing I wish we had seen in this is I think Simone was in a boot at the Olympics because that's just a smart thing to do. Just when you're not, like we see this in NCAA all the time. You wear a boot until you compete.
Mhm.
Like you just don't use that body part until you compete. That's how you do it. But it's also impressive that she, wore her boot after for, I don't know how long it was. Was it a month and a half until the tour rehearsal started after Paris? And now she's fine. She's doing her Biles double layouts, doing all her stuff in the tour. Little beam routine, no problem. What does it say about the healing journey of gymnastics? That a doctor is featured so prominently and interviewed, and not only that, but was someone invited to walk the red carpet at the premiere.
I think it says that she had good things to say. I mean, you're talking about like making a major storyline of the final episodes is Simone's injuries. So of course you would, if you're able to, talk to her doctor.
I know Simone has worked with her for a very long time now. It's like making a statement that this person is okay.
Yeah. Well, because there's going to be a lot of initial mistrust of any kind of doctor who's involved with USA Gymnastics, obviously. So I suppose it means that like this individual has earned the trust.
Yeah. Right. And that's what, and then we have that moment where she's talking not to Dr. Faustin, but to the trainer. And Cecile says to the trainer, oh yeah, 4 years ago, she wouldn't tell you if she was hurt, but now she'll tell you. That trust has been built up over years, and they have, chosen the right people that the athletes can actually trust. Yeah, I think about that because there's been a big push for some doctors to come onto the show and be interviewed, and I won't interview them because I'm too scarred and nothing happened to me.
Yeah.
And so it made me really happy, and it made me really feel like there was a good amount of healing and that they have the good relationship of trust, and that so I hope Dr. Faustin sticks around for a very long time. The most important part, funniest moments.
Your opportunities for comedy. I think we covered that with I hope he throws it in the dirt.
That was so good. Freaking. It reminded me of, you remember when there was that, I don't know, it's probably still up somewhere. It was her parents are watching Adria compete because Adria, her sister, used to do gymnastics too. And they're watching her compete and she's doing her dance and they are just laughing and being like, you go girl, you try to do your dance. They are just like teasing her as they film about Adria's dance and like how, it's not quite there yet. She's learning. But I feel like there is that, she's definitely grown up in a family. She talked about like, she's humble. And I think she's grown up in a family that's like, has kept her humble. And so I see that in what's happening with her husband too.
Sarcasm keeps you humble.
Sarcasm is a very important love language. We use it a lot around here and I appreciate it. One of my favorite moments, opportunities for comedy, is I'm trying to do the least amount, and then they show her doing a triple double.
Yeah,
I'm going to do the least.
The least you could do is
easiest.
It's only tucked, like it's not even laid out. So the least
fine.
you could do is the triple double.
Yeah, something she said from the premiere Q&A that I thought was really relatable.
She said,
"So if I could be intimate and honest with my viewers, then they can feel like I'm a little bit more relatable, and that's always what I wanted to do and to be in the sport, was relatable, because you can't relate to doing a triple double."
Jessica, you can't relate to the triple double because you just can't.
You can't.
Yeah.
No one can. There's like 20 people in the world that can relate to a triple double, and that's it.
I would like celebrities like Simone to work on being less relatable, personally. Relatability is a prison. I want you to be cold and standoffish and unknowable, and riding on your yacht and complaining about what an eyesore the working classes are. That is what I would like from celebrities like Simone.
Also, what when they interviewed who are the two witches in the Wicked movie that's coming out? There's two.
Yeah.
Do you know their names?
Elphaba and Glinda. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. They interviewed the witches, and Ariana Grande's like voice was so. She was like, "Yes, I'm really looking forward to seeing Simone," and I was like, "What is that voice? Is that the witch character? Isn't she the mean witch?"
No, she. Well, it's more complicated.
It's very complicated. I've seen Wicked.
Okay.
There's tension, and then there's not. Oh, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. My apologies. It's only been out for 20 years or 30 years or something. Anywho.
I think it was like, what, 20th anniversary? Something like that.
Is it only
Not
20
that
years?
long ago. I think it was 2003.
I think that went from book to Broadway in record time.
That's what happens.
Another thing that we didn't see a lot of in the documentary. You have to look closely. If you look closely, you can see this in the background of the documentary when they go to the cafe to celebrate. Is it the team or the individual gold? I can't remember. The part where Nelly takes the medal and is like, "I got this medal!" That part.
We got to celebrate with the waitresses and everybody at the restaurant, and they went absolutely crazy for us. It was crazy. The waitresses were on the table.
On the tables.
American stuff, whipping towels. Like, I felt like I was at a club. They put a champagne bottle. This was my favorite. And I was like, am I living my greatest dream?
I love that for her. It's like the explanation of like, how was Tokyo compared to Rio? Or compared to, she's been to so many Olympics, I can't keep up. How's Tokyo compared to Paris? Paris, there were waitresses on tables. And
Yeah.
Tokyo, we went
There
back
weren't.
to, we walked across the street to our sad, quiet hotel. Were you surprised to hear her talk about Rio and say, yeah, it was so easy. I didn't have any anxiety. I was just like, oh, go to this meet, see what happens.
Yeah, because I thought she did have some anxiety about Rio, but I think it's, things that happen in the past and your reflections on them once you've had success tend to be more rosy. But yeah, she was, she wasn't Simone yet, except to us. Because she had won, a bunch of world championships already, and she was like, you're gonna win gold. But maybe in terms of the wider media attention on Simone, it was much greater in Tokyo and Paris on her as like prior to the Olympics, you are the star. And I think there was less of that in Rio, and probably just less demands on her overall in Rio. For her time, for her energy, for her interest, all of that. And I think that probably made it a smoother experience.
I think it is one of the things that I didn't realize when I was that age. I was really defensive about age, them trying to change the age limit. And I was like, no, that's not fair. Like, it's the same gymnastics, doesn't matter. But it's all harder when you're older because of your perspective. You realize what's going on. You realize the greater context. You have less of tunnel vision in your perspective on the world and the context you have, where the role you play within it when you're younger. And I think it is, that's what makes it so much harder to compete when you're older. And I don't think people realize that at the time when they're little. And when they're little, she was 19.
Yeah, really, Jessica.
Oh
you're
my
little girls
God.
again. John Tesh over here.
Oh my God, when you're little. I meant like 14-year-old Mochianu, not 19-year-old Simone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, she was a grown-ass
She
woman.
knew what was going on, but had less, there was less going on.
She was a badass, grown-ass woman in Rio. Yeah. But yeah. I also love how she's like, yeah, I just realized the other day how rare that is about winning 5 gold medals in Olympics. It's like, yeah, just thinking about that the other day. It's kind of rare.
4 gold medals.
She
5
said
medals.
5. Oh yeah, 4 gold, 5 medals. Yes. Beam. Never forget.
Sana.
I still blame the microphone stuck to the bottom of the beam. Thank God they've stopped that nonsense. I'll never forgive that stupid microphone. I'm sure it's what sabotaged Lori and Simone. Although I did love the routine that won. Son of Avers forever. The soundtrack. The soundtrack to this, I really liked. what bothered me a little bit was the song that has "This Is My Destiny" lyrics in it, because it was giving a lot of Troutwig. It was her destiny all along, which was an iconic line. The one of the only good things Troutwig ever did. But he was a commentator who thankfully does not commentate for gymnastics anymore due to his very offensive comments and absolute disdain for gymnastics. But he did during Rio. Like, was it her destiny? Would they have used that if she hadn't won?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it.
I feel like destiny is always used with like, it was your destiny to fall.
Like, a destiny is good. Like, destiny is only good.
It's only positive. Where maybe it was your destiny to have this, like to get the twisties in Tokyo and have a greater purpose.
That after they did that and then something good happens.
Right.
In the everything's meant to be because I tore my Achilles Instagram post genre.
Yes.
So, I have to believe that everything happens for a reason. It's like, it doesn't. You just tore your Achilles.
It just happened.
Sorry, it just sucks.
You've been jumping 7,000 times every day of your life for 20 years. Your Achilles wears out at some point. When Simone is done, when she's over, like I talked about and when we first started discussing this, when she has no fucks left to give, when she has a billionaire island where she dictates what happens in American politics and commerce, what will be in her documentary then?
I think all of how she feels about the other gymnasts.
Anyone in particular?
Not gonna say. I have people in mind, but I'm not gonna say. I don't think she's gonna want to talk about the really bad stuff ever. Maybe that's just me. I don't think she's gonna want to go into that stuff, but I think the
abuse,
yeah, but I think stuff with the USAG, stuff with Steve Penny, that stuff, I would like to know about that. I would like to hear about it all, but yeah. I also kind of think when Simone's done and just living on her island, she's gonna be like, why would I talk about this? I'm done.
I don't care about.
Bye. See ya. Who cares?
I live on an island, and you guys have to, live with yourselves. I don't care. I would like her to state on the record the team name in full. Team Fuck Around and Find Out, because there was Team Fuck Around and Find Out total erasure in the documentary. My only beef. Total erasure. That whole Golden Girls Team Revenge, Team Redemption. Redemption. Yeah, that's fine. But really,
redeeming yourself from a silver medal. I know. It's kind of like, right.
Yeah. But the Team Fuck Around and Find Out, which is what they said via partial acronyms at the press conference in Paris, when Ali Raisman asked them, what's your team name in the press conference.
Is it better than the Final Five? Oh, it has to be, because everything's better than that.
Yeah, Final Five was so sad because it was all about Marta. But then it also shows the respect the athletes had for Marta. The ones that came up with that. That was about, that was part of Ali, remember that's, it's on the broadcast where Ali says, this is, for you, or the Final Five. Not just that this is the last time there's going to be 5 athletes on a team, but.
That was also very confusing. What is the intent behind this?
Yeah. It's also about the last 5 members, but it was also, she said, to Marta. So there is that, gray areas where someone can have done terrible things and also have been very helpful to athletes on their path. It's, people are complicated, it turns out. I would like that's pretty black and white, but yeah, not in this case, but also I would like to hear about all the contract beefs, all the fights that went on, what she really thinks of camp now, because you can tell she thinks it's an absolute waste of time by how she acts at camp. But and I feel like she'll never talk about the security issues, but Because you never want to give any air to the fire, you know? You don't want to give anyone attention who's already causing you ill will. But I can't imagine what it's like to go from like a normal life and to have security with you, literally sleep on the bus with you. And we talked about this a lot on behind the scenes, but you know, she had her own security special wherever she went. She had her own security in Paris. And I would love one where she actually goes off about her political beliefs, because also I love my black job wasn't in here. That's all I've been waiting for. We did get Beyonce at the rally. No Simone, but we did get Beyonce. If there was an unlimited budget for a 10-hour documentary on Simone, what would, which is my plan for the future, is to be the billionaire that can just be like, Katie, yes, let's have an everyday, like,
I mean,
screw the Kardashians.
That's the rest of your footage. Katie,
yeah,
you certainly have enough footage for 10 hours.
They asked her in the Q&A at the premiere, how much footage do you have? And she was like, oh, I don't know. There's too much to even count. Like,
I couldn't even imagine.
Thousands of hours.
All day. They're there. Yeah.
What would you want to see, though?
I want more of like, okay, what was the scene? Because we got a little bit of that scene with her and Allie on the bed in the hotel room gossiping. And I'm like, let's do 10 hours of that.
Yes.
All of your real thoughts. Simone and Allie, what do you think? Let's go.
Just send that team on a trip and just have them mic'd up the whole time. A getaway. And just listen to all the things.
I mean, I feel like if Simone post-Olympics career, if she wanted to do island hopping with Simone Biles, where she just goes to various islands around the world with her friends and you just watch it, I feel like people would watch that.
People totally watch it. Why do the Kardashians have any money when they're Simone? Like, I don't understand it.
If you could FaceTime with Jonathan sometime and be like, this is not really for you, though. Go play football or whatever.
Play that cute thing that you're trying to do. Like, I hope you throw it in the dirt. We do want an MTV Cribs, but by Katie, obviously, about her new house. And I want to know, like, is there a kick-out step stool for everything? Or did they... Because we saw her house in this. If you watch, like, at the end, there's, like, extra stuff about her house. Because in the first documentary, it's, like, studs. And now it's fully built. And where the part she talks about, like, this is going to be an office to like Google stuff.
Sure, I can Google stuff. She's like, yeah, I'm going to be important. I just don't know how yet.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's Google things in here. So
and we could talk about how I think the kitchen is ugly.
It's so well, it hasn't been decorated yet.
Okay, yeah,
but you don't like it's just white.
I don't like the tile. I don't like the color contrast with the white. These are really important. These are really important views, you guys. This is the important.
This is the real.
I wouldn't have made the same design choices that Simone made about her kitchen.
I didn't know you had such strong interior design. I have
strong opinions about kitchen design, especially because all counters are too low.
For you.
For me, therefore they're too low.
And that's what I want to know. This is why, Katie, can you please do
really important? Really important.
That's the thing. How do you build a house for someone who's 4'9" and someone who's 6 foot whatever, some Spencer sized? How do you make it fair and comfortable for both? Do you have different size?
I mean, but like, how much of the kitchen is being used?
Like, do you think they're just going to have a private chef all the time now?
Is there a lot of like? Are either of them cooks? Like, are they using it, or is it just there to have a kitchen?
You just order out every single day.
Rinse things sometimes.
The thing about having a private chef is that I've thought a lot about it. Is that then you have to have someone.
You already have a private chef. You're just married to him.
I do. It's the best thing ever. But this is the thing. They have to be in your house all the time, so it might as well be someone you enjoy having sex with. You know what I mean? That's my recommendation.
Or your house is big enough that you don't notice that they're there.
Oh, you have a separate kitchen, like a summer kitchen. Anywho, you guys, let's talk about the other things that we want to see in this. But Katie, now you have our have our list of desires. So for what we want in the Cribs edition.
It's not cool. Just know that. It's just very specific about kitchen design.
It's
in a like intentionally boring way.
We want the engineering specs about we want blueprints, we want some math, we want angles.
Did on behind the scenes, by the way, go into our preferred Netflix documentaries hosted by ourselves. So that's also content you can enjoy if you subscribe to Behind the Scenes.
That's right. Also, thank God we have a fact checker here. Number one, Wicked came out the book came out in 1995, the Broadway musical debut in 2003. And also, according to the Team USA website, Simone Biles is 4'8".
I could have told you that.
So, well, I just said she was 4'9".
Information I have in my head for no reason. Simone's 4'8".
Do you know how tall her husband is?
No, he's a foot tall.
He's tall. That's what I think. Spencer's very tall, you guys. Okay, listen. Here are the other things that I want to see in the day. Okay, I want a full day in the life in the 10-hour documentary series. And Simone said in the Q&A at the premiere that if she ever did something like this again, she would want to be.
Looked up her husband's height. He's 5'11". He's a
no.
He just looks tall because he's standing next to Simone.
He's only an inch taller than Coop, than Fact Checker. Oh my God, that's shocking. I always think he's so tall. Spencer, you're taller than him.
Yes, I'm quite a bit taller than him. I'm half a foot taller than him.
Okay, so here's what we need in the 10-hour documentary series on Simone.
Sure.
Full day in the life. Like, what time do you get up? Do you eat breakfast?
Is it 5:40 or was that a special occasion? Yeah.
It's definitely. I'm just telling you, Spencer. It's definitely 5:40 because they did They didn't make her get up extra early on her birthday.
I thought they was like they were going to camp or something.
No, because then she's like, "Oh, we'll take our pictures later."
Okay.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you. That's the normal time. Okay, thank you. Full day in the life. Lunch, nap time, dog walking.
Watching the nap. Great television.
Then I also want to see what she actually does for her prehab, for her rehab, for her recovery. I want to know, has she had to change all of those things the way that Aly Raisman did, the way that Alicia Sacramone did, like when they got into their 20s, like Aly totally changed her diet to reduce her inflammation. And by changed her diet, I mean, she didn't eat as many Sour Patch rainbow candies as
which was
watermelon.
Terrible advice.
Terrible. Yeah. And then like Sacramone changed all of the where she would sleep in the barometric. What kind of chamber is it?
It's not barometric pressure. Barometric pressure chamber. Biometric. I don't know.
It's the hyperbaric chamber where you get so much oxygen, hyper oxygen, extra oxygen so you can heal faster and recover faster. Aly did this is all in her book, which if you guys haven't read Aly Raisman's book, amazing. With a great co-author who used to be with the secret ghost author of it, Blythe Lawrence, who used to be a co-host in GymCastic. And we're so proud of her for doing that book. But also she would do that tank that you float in with all the water to be extra relaxed to recover faster. I don't know what that thing's called. I don't
know. The thing that you float in with water to be extra relaxed?
The dark saltwater tank recovery egg. That thing. I want to know if Simone does all that stuff because we never even see Simone doing the leg squeezy machine where you put those giant leg warmers on and it squeezes you. Fact checker will tell me what that thing is called. We just don't see that stuff from her. The compression boots, pants. And also, how does she stay in shape in the years that she takes off? Is she just Simone? So she just goes on vacation and does double backs off of cliffs into the ocean? Or I asked her this in a press conference once, but I did not get an answer because I also asked, and who's this tall redheaded boy that I see you working out with or racing? And then she got distracted by that question and that's all she answered. She thought it was funny. But I didn't find out what she actually does. Like, does she work out or is she just Simone? So she just lays on the couch for a year, does media appearances and then goes back to the gym. There's so many things. And this is why Netflix should just give Katie a bazillion more dollars to make the behind the scenes blooper reel, etc. There's got to be so many good blooper reel moments that we didn't get to. Was there anything you wanted in this documentary that you didn't get, like missing moments, bloopers? Obviously, bloopers.
Event finals.
Yeah,
we didn't get. And I know that they like probably legally can't show anything about the Jordan Childs bronze footage that they have, but like Simone's experience of event finals, she was in them. She got second on floor when she was favored to win gold and went out of bounds twice. And there's story there as well that I would be interested in.
I think it's definitely like normally when it's ongoing litigation, people aren't allowed to talk about it. If this was in the US, there would be constantly Jordan and Simone doing interviews about this. But because it's the Swiss Superior Court and all of that, like there's no way anyone's allowed to talk about it. Just the strategic move of making Jordan's appeal public was probably something that, the Swiss poo-poo, but very wise to do. And we're talking about Jordan's appeal to get her bronze medal back, which the evidence they used was evidence from the documentary. So, I'm sure there's going to be a documentary on that. Like, I'm sure there's going to be a documentary on that. I'm sure there's
the title "The Bronze" is already taken
by
a deeply underrated movie that I kind of like.
Best movie. The opening scene is the greatest thing ever. Do you know that a group of people from USAG went to see that when it first came out, like coworkers? Can you imagine watching that opening scene? I don't want to spoil it for anybody, with a bunch of coworkers in a public place.
Is this the gymnastic upside down sex scene?
No, it's how much someone personally enjoys watching themselves with themselves. Now I'm spoiling it. Yeah. The awkwardness. I love that movie so much. Anywho, her going the wrong way during the march out. That's my favorite. Yeah. That's how we always knew she's going to have a great meet if she messes up march in or out somehow.
Then she's relaxed. She's relaxed because she's not paying attention to what direction she's supposed to go.
It's like, I don't know who. Someone was pointing at me. The other thing that I wanted to see in here that wasn't in it was how she was. All the times I bet they caught the camera people from OBS, which is the Olympic broadcast system, which should have much better controls on who's allowed on the floor and who is allowed to do what with their cameras, because we have seen a camera person, a still camera operator, immediately ejected from a world championships for hitting an athlete on the top of the head accidentally. Well, it happened once and then it happened again during a competition. Add there, credential off, you're gone. OBS, who work for the Olympics, did this multiple times to Simone and nothing happened to them. There should just be a hook that drops down from the ceiling and they fly up in the air. All you see is feet into the ceiling. You're fired. Bye. You lost your job. You hit an athlete during competition. No. I just like more people to be as angry about that as I am so that we can get rid of anyway, I wanted to see more about like them showing the camera hitting her and her being like, what the hell? And then she finally looks in the camera and is like, if they hit me one more time, I'm going to lose it, or whatever she said. Cause I still can't get over it. So that's what I would like. So Katie, if you're listening, if you could create just this special blooper anger reel.
The Jessica cut.
Don't you think if Netflix created a special extra tier where you could pay like another $1 a month and get stuff like this?
I wouldn't pay for it.
I so would.
You would for a month and then you cancel it.
Well, yeah, because I only want to see that behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any reason the IOC or Olympic Channel wouldn't continue to do partnerships like this again with another athlete? Because this is pretty unprecedented. They've done it twice now. They did it with the running people and now with this.
I mean, they should. This is your lifeblood of your organization is these athletes, so you should want to promote them. I'm sure there's all kinds of like committees they have to have about whether they're showing enough favoritism or something, or too much showing enough
favoritism.
Everyone, we need to show more favoritism to Simone Biles. That should be a meeting.
That was the most Freudian slippage ever committed by Spencer Barnes. Yeah, I mean, I think this is big progress that I think we really started to see with the Olympic Channel All Around series, and like driven, from the IOC, down to the Olympic Channel, actually being like, oh, we should do more to promote the athletes, and this also promotes us and the organization and give them more. Like now they're, the social media is allowed. Remember when you weren't even allowed to have like any kind of, you couldn't film anything yourself at a world championships. And I know that's the FIG, that's different, but I'm just using an example of now they're like encouraging, yes, please promote this meet that we hold. And that's basically what they're doing now. So I hope we see more of this. I hope there's like one of these on every athlete, not every gymnast. I mean, athletes, come on. No, obviously not baseball, but they got cut. Right? Oh, they're coming back for LA. They got baseball back in. Ugh. I think I just want to close by playing this clip from Simone, which is basically the greatest compliment that any documentarian or director can have. And I think it says so much about why we got as much as we did from Simone and why she agreed to do this a second time. So this is what Simone said about seeing, she was asked by the moderator after the premiere in the Q&A, why, the cameras are so close to you, like they kind of were like all up in your face, like, what did you think of that? Didn't it bother you? And this is what she said about having her documentary crew there on the floor at these competitions and at the Olympic Games.
Right there, so I'm like, it just gives me a sense of comfort. I'm home, I'm safe. So it's like my safe place.
The greatest compliment that whole documentary crew could ever have. So congratulations to you guys. It's amazing. And I hope we get many more of these, like a whole TV series. All right, we have some GymTernet news to talk about. Number one, Simone Biles Rising documentary nominated for a Critics' Choice Awards. Critics' Choice Award. You shouldn't hear. I hope they win all the awards, not just that one. Paralympics, recognized by the FIG, you talked about.
Para-gymnastics.
So, first step towards seeing gymnastics included as a Paralympic sport in the 2032 Paralympic Games in Brisbane. So after LA, Australia. And you're welcome for pronouncing that correctly, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. FIG elections were held this week. And was there really any shockers? I talked about how so many people are running unopposed. But the results.
Watanabe was reelected as the president of the FIG. Lili is on the executive committee still.
USAG president.
Donatella Sacchi ran unopposed for Women's Technical Committee president, so that's still a thing. Steve Butcher ran for Technical Committee president, did not get that, but is on the Technical Committee.
Yes.
For men.
He used to be the president, then went away and worked for the FIG, and now he's back as a member because he's part of the PAGU.
Representing Trinidad and Tobago, by the way.
Yes.
We have some good turnover in the Women's Technical Committee. Only 2 of the 6 are returning from the previous quad. So I think that's good. I think turnover, change, different voices is always good. And it's not so European dominated as much anymore, which I think is a positive.
If you guys haven't heard, we talked about this behind the scenes, but Donnell Wittenberg's coach, Anthony, has had a medical emergency. It's really scary. There's a GoFundMe set up for him. He needs brain surgery. Last week, he had a seizure. It required immediate attention. Now he needs surgery, brain surgery. It's really scary. So he's going to need a lot of help and support. And if you're not familiar with him, he was on the Nebraska men's gymnastics team 2008 to 2011, and then has coached Donnell for a long time, and is really like him. One of the youngest coaches out there too. Some other things that happened this week. Donnell Wittenberg was, he was on the GOAT tour, and then he tore his Achilles, and he was spotted back on the tour hanging out with Yule and some other folks. So that's nice that he's doing that. The Minnesota Zoo named a baby shark Suni.
Excellent.
It's a baby.
Is that the animal you would have picked for Suni?
This is what I was thinking. Like, it's a baby zebra shark. I don't know if a baby shark is called a baby shark or if it's called because don't sharks come in like pods? They like born and they look like they're
little plastic in capsules
envelope. Yeah,
that's what sharks come in.
Yeah. I like that this is a fashionable shark, obviously, which Suni is. And sharks are very smooth, very skilled at their job.
You kind of convinced me by describing Suni as a fashionable shark.
So, I think it's a great honor. And how long do sharks live? Can they live as long as turtles? Will it be around for 300 years? There's only those giant sharks they think are like wiped out and they haven't been on Earth for 300 years, and then they happen upon one in the deep, dark oceans. Or is that just a movie I watched once? One of those megalodons.
Probably, but
There's a diver who has to save everyone. He was an Olympic diver, but then he became a stuntman and movie star. Justin Spring, the great Olympian Justin Spring, Olympic medalist, who switched. Are we going to call it switching? Are we going to call it defecting? Are we going to call it making a smart move from men's gymnastics head coach to women's gymnastics coach? Now he's the associate head coach at Alabama. How many more junior head coach titles can they add until you're just the co-head coach? We have
associate,
assistant,
coaches, and then we have associate head coaches, and then we have head coaches.
I feel like there's going to be something else, just like Jay Clark invented
you need to invent some more pay tiers.
Special assistant to the head coach so they could have an extra coach.
Invent that. KJ's had that.
Oh, yeah. Well, borrowed it. Sorry. Obviously, KJ invented it first.
I think KJ invented my special assistant. Yeah.
Yeah. So you could have an extra coach, which is do it. Work the system. I'm all for this. Also in the dumpster fire news, but also good news that this is happening. Do you remember Kara Welsh, who's the Wisconsin whitewater gymnast who was murdered, shot to death by a man that she knew? So this guy who used to be a wrestler at the same school, Chad Richards, is going to stand trial for her murder. This is first degree intentional homicide. He said that she attacked him previously, and then he just defended himself by shooting her 1 million times. And thank God the DA in Whitewater is not buying that nonsense. If Mr. Richards is convicted, he faces a mandatory minimum penalty of life in prison. There is a Whitewater tribute meet on January 18th for her. God, I can't even imagine competing in a meet like that. It's going to be so hard. I promised some horror stories for Halloween.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do this, you guys. I'm very excited about this. So we had previously made a call for stories, and I talked about how the horror story that I imagined it is to do acrobatics, gymnastics of any kind on a cruise ship, and how scary I thought that would be. And I can't remember how that came up, but
we watched an entire TV show episode about it.
Oh, that's right, Heart to Heart.
We're doing uneven bars on the cruise ship.
That's right. I can't remember last week, Spencer. I already put that out of my mind, where everyone was wearing leotards with tights and little belts on because it was the 70s, 80s.
1979, yeah.
Yeah. I did get one story to share with you guys from an elite gymnast turned cheerleader, a man, who was talking about competing at their world championships where the stage is at the stage they compete on is the Indiana Jones Theater in Disney World, Disneyland, Disney, whatever it is in Florida. And first of all, he said that he took Vicodin to compete because he sprained his ankle so bad. So he taped his ankle, then put an air cast on it, then taped over that, just like Corey Fritzinger. And basically, it was an ode to her. And that they competed on they have an actual spring floor, but you're like 6 inches from death because if you step out of bounds, you're off the stage into the concrete, and it was terrifying. So that's one gymnastics horror story. And now we have a cruise ship performer writes in.
Troy says, big fan of your show. Have listened to every episode since last year's Worlds. Thank you for the work and community building you do.
Thank you.
I caught how in your most recent episode you asked for perspective from people who have performed gymnastics on cruise ships. I grew up in gymnastics before getting into musical theater, the correct pathway, and spent 6 months on a ship in 2018 to 2019. I did tumbling passes in 2 of the shows. Now I'm a full-time circus artist, which is a mix of both of those worlds. We had a plan B for certain partnering and tumbling sections of our shows, like in the big can in one show and the finale of a rock and roll show. But honestly, we rarely resorted to them, even on the rockiest of nights, around Africa's Cape of Good Hope and Bermuda were our RFSC days. We would wait around on those rocky nights for the cruise director to decide if a show would happen or not. And they always ended up going on as scheduled. It was up to the dance captain in the cast and our personal comfort to change any tumbling passes. Honestly, I only modified a tumbling pass on one occasion to be just an aerial. I felt okay even on rocky nights, just had some extra airtime. You just get used to working with the sway of the boat. Harder than the tumbling passes, actually, was standing shoulder to shoulder with all 8 other dancers on a small platform, swaying side to side with the ship rocking, trying not to fall off.
Oh,
gosh. I'll definitely be checking out Stuck, and I'm excited for Simone's documentary. Because of your show's encouragement, I went to see her tour when they came through Brooklyn and had a blast. Have a great week.
Yay! I'm so glad. Oh my God, I didn't even think of that. Like if you time it right, the ship will come up and it'll be closer to you when you punch, which could stunt your ability to set and go up, but then you'd have more air time. It could totally be an advantage.
Yeah.
This sounds horrifying, which is exactly what we asked for. Thank you so much, Troy. And thank you for your kind words. Okay. Gymnastics on a cruise ship from Anonymous.
Anonymous says, the summer after high school, I performed at a big name brand cruise line for a big name brand circus style show. Me being a trampolinist / power tumbler, performing on a long tumble track and on an early version of Tramp Wall. I was a premier performer and took turns dropping 12 feet from the top of a scaffolding disguised like the corner of a building. The ship overall would gently sway and wasn't too big of a problem, but there were days where the pitch would be greater and we would miss our intended marks on the tramp, smash into the scaffolding, and not make it back to the top of the wall. After 3 months, they closed the show and I've never heard of it happening again.
I am sweating listening to this. This is horrifying. Oh my God, you guys are crazy. But I can see why people do this because there is a pipeline. If you don't get directly into like a Cirque du Soleil type show or a permanent on the land that is firm, some called Terra, there's a pipeline from cruise ships to those kind of shows if you need to prove yourself. And my God, if you can do it on a swaying ship. Ooh, Aqua Theater.
Nicholas says, I did a contract in the Aqua Theater with Sydney. A lot goes into determining if a show gets canceled, and the rocking really keeps things interesting.
Oh, this is Sydney Brown, who I was telling you about, who is now, she did like the diving off of a tiny platform and swinging around on stuff. And that's who I was talking about, who did this kind of thing. And so this is Nicholas, who did gymnastics with, or did the Aqua Theater with Sydney.
The Aqua show would get canceled for weather, or if it was so rocky that the water was overflowing out of the pool to the backstage.
Jesus Christ.
We modified the shows accordingly and also have shorter versions of the show. You kind of just learn to adjust and modify depending on how rocky it is that night. Shows will obviously get canceled if the support divers / performers don't feel safe to be in the pool. Same goes for the stage show. I did 2-point bungee trapeze, and wow, would I get swinging around during rocky shows. Yeehaw! Stage tumbling, you just have to hope the rock is working in your favor. Otherwise, it feels like you're tumbling up an incline. As a longtime subscriber, thank you, Spencer and Jessica.
Thank you so much for this. I love these kind of letters. You got, I mean, this is like gymnasts are crazy, but you do it on a ship with the water splashing. I'm glad that Nicholas felt like he could actually say, or the performers felt like they were like, this is too dangerous. That's good. Because you don't want to be, because it's international waters and there are no laws. And so it's not like there's a labor union where they can say like, it's too dangerous. We would prefer not to perform. Behind the scenes this week is Wednesday, the Wednesday before Halloween at noon Pacific with Simone Biles Rising director Katie Walsh. Get your questions ready for her. And it's our last live show of the year, our fourth and final live show of the year, probably the first or second weekend in December in Portland. So Portland people, email us, GymCastic@gmail.com, put Portland volunteer or Portland live show in the subject line. And I think it's probably going to be like Burnside area, maybe, possibly. So you guys are getting your wish. Thank you, Portland people, for reaching out and being like, have a live show here, because now we can actually do it. So remember, if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe, because 70% non-subscribers is, my God, you guys. And have a wonderful, wonderful Halloween. It is, of course, the best holiday of the entire year, because it's my personal favorite. If you haven't watched Simone Biles Rising yet on Netflix, please check it out. Let us know your thoughts, because we can talk about all of your thoughts again after everyone's had a chance to watch it. And remember to take off on gay, split on rights, and thanks for listening. We'll see you on Wednesday for Behind the Scenes. Thanks for listening.